Welcome back to episode 3 of season 2 of the Ultimate Class Showdown. Today we will be jumping into the round 3 action with the Warlock taking on the Paladin and the Ranger taking on the Fighter. We will then jump down to the losers round 2 action where we'll watch the Monk versus the Rogue and the Bard versus the Sorcerer. Let's jump straight into the action. We jump straight into the first battle with the Paladin taking on the Warlock. We start by rolling initiative. The Paladin gets an 8, the Warlock gets a 22. We start with the Warlock, which is going to try a Witch Bolt attack against the Paladin, and it gets a 21 to hit. It will hit, and it is going to deal a massive 14 damage to the Paladin. We now move over to the Paladin. It's going to go ahead and use its movement to close the gap to the Warlock. It is then going to attempt to swing its longsword at the Warlock. It gets a 7 to hit. It does not hit, but we are not done there. It is going to go ahead and use its Lay on Hands Pool. It is a bonus action. It is going to use all 10 points to heal itself, and we move back to the Warlock. The Warlock, holding concentration on Witch Bolt, will be able to do a d12 of damage without making an attack roll, and it is going to be able to deal an additional 5 damage to the Paladin. That will be its bonus action. The Warlock is now going to go ahead and do its main action. Now in melee range, it's going to go ahead and use Armor of Agathis on itself, granting itself 5 temporary hit points. We move back to the Paladin. The Paladin is once again going to try swing its longsword at the Warlock. That is a 24 to hit. It will hit, and it is going to deal a massive 10 damage to the Warlock, but it is not done there. It's going to go ahead and use Divine Smite, and it is going to deal an additional 15 damage for 25 damage, and that's a dead Warlock. We now move on to the Ranger versus the Fighter. We start by rolling initiative. The Fighter gets a 16, the Ranger gets a 14. We start with the Fighter, which is going to use its movement to close the gap to the Ranger. It is then going to go ahead and try a Great Sword attack against the Ranger, and that will be a 13 to hit. It will not hit the Ranger. However, Nick will apply and deal 3 damage to the Ranger. That Fighter is not done there. It's going to go ahead and use its Action Surge and try yet another Great Sword attack. This time, it's a 20 to hit. It will hit, and it is going to deal 7 damage to the Ranger. We move over to the Ranger. It's going to start by using its bonus action to cast Hunter's Mark on the Fighter. It is then going to be forced to use a Scimitar attack. That will be a natural 1 to hit. It will not hit. We move back to the Fighter. The Fighter, once again swinging its Greatsword, it gets a 15 to hit. It will hit, and it is going to deal 6 damage to the Ranger. We move back to the Ranger. Once again, going to be using a Scimitar attack. This time, it gets a 22 to hit. It will hit. It is going to deal 5 damage plus the damage from the Hunter's Mark for a total of 11 damage to the Fighter. We move back to the Fighter, which is once again going to swing its Great Axe. It's able to get a 24 to hit. It will hit. It's going to deal 12 damage to the Ranger, and that is a dead Ranger. We now move on to the losers bracket action as the Monk takes on the Rogue. We start by rolling initiative. The Monk gets a 24. The Rogue gets a 24. We'll start with the Monk. The Monk is going to go ahead and use his movement to close the gap to the Rogue. It is then going to try a unarmed strike against the Rogue. That will be a 9 to hit. It will not hit, but we're not done there. The Monk's going to go ahead and use a key point to do Flurry of Blows. The first Flurry of Blows is a 21 to hit. It will hit, and it is going to deal 9 damage to the Rogue. The Monk is then going to do its third attack with the Fury of Blows. That will be a 10 to hit. It does not hit. We move over to the Rogue. The Rogue is going to go ahead and try a Short Sword attack, but that's a 7 to hit. It will not hit. It is then going to attempt a Dagger attack with its offhand. It is then going to be able to get a 9 to hit. It also does not hit. We move back to the Monk. Once again, we're going to be using an unarmed strike. It gets a 9 to hit. It does not hit. It's once again going to use its final key point for Fury of Blows. That is a 22 to hit. That will hit, dealing 5 damage to the Rogue. The Monk, with one final unarmed strike of its turn, is going to be able to get a 21 to hit. It will hit. It's going to deal 9 damage to the Rogue, and that is a dead Rogue. We move into our final battle of the day as the Bard takes on the Sorcerer. We start by rolling initiative. The Bard gets a 7, the Sorcerer gets a 20. We'll start with the Sorcerer. It is going to go ahead and try and cast Guiding Bolt against the Bard, but it's a natural 1 to hit. It will not hit. However, the Sorcerer is going to go ahead and use its point for Seeking Spell. It is going to be able to re-roll the d20 and attempt to hit it yet again. This time, it is going to be able to get a 11 to hit. It still does not hit. We move over to the Bard. The Bard's going to respond with a guiding bolt attack of its own. It gets a natural 20. It's going to deal critical damage, and it's going to deal a massive 26 damage to the Sorcerer. And that is a dead Sorcerer. We now take a look at our updated bracket. In the semifinals, you'll have the Paladin versus the Fighter. In Losers Round 3, you have the Warlock versus the Monk, and the Ranger versus the Bard. That'll be all for the action today, folks. Be sure to subscribe and tune in for episode 4 of the Ultimate Class Showdown.